it's AI controlled. The session's going really well, or you'll get a bit more time. If it's not going so well, it'll get a bit shorter. So.
Always or sometimes?
Yes. Just on one screen.
It's possible to see both and video online, the online person together? I'm fine, thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for attending, for keeping the energy high, for your great interest in what's going on here. All about, of course, the competitive edge in research and innovation for Europe. And I'm sure this last topic has got everybody intrigued as to what the debate is going to be about and where it's going. It's a topic which is at everyone's top of mind, both in our private as well as in our professional lives. AI. And the use of it, in this case, for scientific discovery. We're going to learn all about how science can and should be driven by AI, and a bit of a foresight into the future. And I'm delighted to introduce the expert moderator for this topic, who's going to guide us through this, Anna Schaefer. Anna.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this final session of the day on artificial intelligence for scientific discovery and a roadmap for the next 10 years. I'd like to start the session by introducing my fellow panelists. First of all, I'd like to introduce Emanuele Gerardi, who is the president of ADRA, which is a round of applause. So ADRA is a public-private partnership that focuses on AI, data, and robotics. And Emanuele is also a co-author on the Italian National AI Strategy and has been involved in several UN projects around the safe use of AI technologies. Our second panelist, who's joining us online, is Pushmeet Kohli from Google DeepMind. Welcome, Pushmeet. So Pushmeet is principal scientist and a research team lead at Google DeepMind, and he specializes in intelligent systems, machine learning, computer vision, and game theory. So artificial intelligence is rapidly becoming a key part of the scientific research and innovation ecosystem. And whilst the utility of AI is clear, what's also becoming apparent is that the development goals of AI are not necessarily aligned with the development goals of scientific research. So how do we design policy that both anticipates and supports scientific discovery with AI? So we're here to debate that this evening, and I'm joined by two experts in AI and AI policy. But before we hear from our panel, we're going to be seeing a short video. The American psychologist Anne Rowe said that nothing in science is of value to society until it is communicated. So it's particularly apt that the video we're about to see is an example of how AI can help to democratize the dissemination of scientific research. What we're about to see is a video about Amedix, which is a Spanish startup company that works on the early detection of cancer from blood tests. Now, in order to make this video, the EC contacted Amedix, who provided a script and some videos of their research teams. And with that material, an AI model was used to generate the video that you're about to see. The video took about 10 minutes to generate, and then 1 hour of editing. So in minutes, it was able to give the scientists involved the ability to explain and disseminate their research with no lengthy production period and no specialist expertise in video production. So Let's watch the video.
This is a cancer cell that we currently detect at a late stage. This is a much smaller cancer cell. The difference between the two cells' size is about 10 to 15 years. Could we easily detect them when they are still small? Now let's hear from the pioneering mind behind our revolutionary approach of early detection. A startup from Spain, Amatix, is working towards making the fear of colorectal cancer a thing of the past. They're doing this through an innovative diagnostic tool, a high-precision algorithm. The algorithm combines biomarkers with patients' clinical data to detect precancerous lesions early. With the help of artificial intelligence, Amatix is constantly improving their diagnostic tool. This is a game changer in oncological diagnosis. The introduction of Privcol into the Spanish market has been a significant achievement for Amatix. In just 1.5 years, they have signed agreements with 7 hospitals. Currently, the company is running 11 clinical studies in over 25 hospitals for the early detection of colorectal, lung, and pancreatic cancer in blood. Dr. Rocio Arroyo and her team at Amatix has doubled in the last 3 years to execute these projects. The FDA's recent breakthrough device designation for Prevacol is a significant milestone, reflecting the absence of similar alternative tests in the United States. It's a clear signal that Amatix is on the path to bringing Prevacol to patients sooner than ever. This has been made possible thanks to the support from the European Commission. They have been instrumental in the development and market commercialization of this groundbreaking blood-based test for early detection of colorectal cancer. The European Commission has granted over 5 million euros to contribute to the development of the Prevacol test. This support is helping Amatix establish itself as a leading diagnostic company.
Okay. So now we've seen some AI in action, let's talk about it. So I'm going to ask my fellow panelists a number of probing questions about AI for science. Pushmeet, if we could start with you. So AI is being increasingly utilized in scientific research. And I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about what you think that the key developments that are still needed to further widen that involvement in science and to widen the impact of AI in science are. And if you want to tell us a bit about how Google DeepMind is working to accelerate that process, that would be fine too.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for having me at this event. So I lead the science program at Google DeepMind. Our company was founded 14 years ago with the mission of really accelerating AI for the benefit of humanity. And one of the key ways we wish to sort of pursue this is through scientific breakthroughs, using AI to really leverage the vast quantities of data that scientists across the world are collecting about life, about nature, about so many different disciplines, from biology to materials to our planet, to uncover what are the key phenomena and what can we do to understand and make progress on these challenges. As an example, one of the first projects that we took on was on the root node or the fundamental problem of protein structure understanding. Proteins are essentially the building blocks of life. All of us might have heard about the spike protein in SARS-CoV-2. Like understanding the structure and the shape of these proteins is crucial when we think about any sort of problem related to biology, whether it's to treat a specific disease or how a specific pathogen is going to behave. And our model AlphaFold was a breakthrough in understanding the structure of these proteins. And this model has been now used by 1.8 million researchers across the world. I mean, that's a big statement. The fact that there are 1.8 million researchers looking at structural biology and proteins, that's a sort of a great reason to be optimistic about the impact of this technology. In many other sort of disciplines, whether it's fusion, whether it's material science, whether it's pure mathematics, there have been a number of sort of developments that have happened where AI has really accelerated progress in this area. And this is also partly due to the partnerships we have had with key institutions like the European Microbiology Lab, which has been a key partner for us in many of these projects.
Wow. So 1.8 million, Manuela, that's a big number. So, I mean, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
And how can we focus our future policy priorities in order to replicate that kind of engagement and accelerate the adoption of AI in science to produce similar results?
Yeah, thank you, Anna, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. So I was also impressed by this 1.8 million. I think that it's, I mean, what AI can do today in science, it's really, I mean, behind imagination, because it can really accelerate the advancement in frontiers of knowledge. So, I mean, we can really do a lot. And I think that what we can do to make possible this acceleration, especially if I think about ADRAS, or the public-private partnership, we can really bring together, I mean, the best of the public approach together with the best of the private approach. So I see that in DeepMind, some of these two approaches are already merging together, which is already great. But still, there are some things that I think we can do, bringing together public and private. So if I think, for instance, about one of the characteristics of the public approach, of the public research, is that it's made, and it's also one of the strengths, it's that it's mainly focused on fundamental research. While if I think about, so it's more curiosity driven, I would say. If I think about instead the private sector, the private research is mainly, I mean, excels, I would say, more it's mainly excels in applied research. And usually, I mean, the private sector, they are focusing on research areas that could have a higher potential impact on real-world application or products or services or real-world needs. So if we can combine these, and this maybe should be one of the focus of the policy, if we can combine this approach, we can somehow accelerate the translation of the scientific breakthrough into the real society, into products, into application, into services. And doing this, I think, also with the private sector mindset, so the speeding up, the timeline, and so on, I think that combining these two approaches can really help us advancing the scientific breakthrough, probably.
So some really key ideas there to take forward into policy. That's fabulous. Pushmeet, can I take you onto a more technical note? So there's a lot of focus at the moment on the development of these so-called foundation models in AI. What role do you see those kinds of models playing in scientific research? And are there limitations that we should be aware of? Or are these kinds of models the panacea that some people seem to think that they are?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very topical question that I spend my time thinking about. Now, if you look at many of the projects where AI has been applied for the natural sciences, you would see that mostly the data that these systems were trained on were structured data sets, right? So scientists, like some particular scientists, a group of scientists had collected this very precise data that was trained, that was used to train the machine learning model. Now, with these foundational large language models, what they unlock is the ability to uh, yeah, grasp data which is unstructured, which is in free form text, which might be in multiple modalities like text and images and figures and videos and audio. And so there is a vast quantity of human knowledge that is essentially spread in literature, in papers, in publications, in books, and so on. And for the first time, we have an ability for these models to not just learn from structured, clean data sources, but also learn from these very rich, unstructured data sources. So that will open up certain possibilities that we weren't sort of that was not possible earlier. But at the same time, there are many hurdles. These models still hallucinate. They like whether they understand the uncertainty associated with their predictions. All of these things are important challenges that need to be addressed before we can reliably use these models for scientific discovery. But there is reason to be optimistic on this front. In fact, last year we showed that a large language model was able to, for the first time, make a novel scientific discovery. I mean, so it was able to produce a completely new mathematical formula that mathematicians had been trying to figure out for many, many years. And it was able to discover this new result. So there is a lot of novelty, that there's a lot of power in these systems, but they have to be used responsibly and with understanding their limitations.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's a key word that came out just at the end there, which is responsibly and responsible use of AI. So, Emanuele, you've looked at this across a wide range of applications and technologies. So, how do you see the role of public-private partnerships evolving in the era of large-scale AI? And where does that responsibility come into those partnerships? What comes from the public side? What comes from the private side? And how has your experience with address shaped your opinions in this area?
Okay, so I will start from the responsible part because I think that it was a very good starting point. So I think what could bring this public-private partnership in AI and in science with AI? So I think that one of the things, in the beginning you mentioned that science and AI, they have different interests or priorities. I think that public and private, sometimes they have different priorities. So if I think about what could this convergence of priorities, this alignment of priorities could bring, I mean, there are amazing opportunities. Because if you think, for instance, about public research institute or public research in general, they're more addressing global challenges, aligns with ethical principles and societal values. And then instead, if I think about the private sector, they are, as I said before, they are mainly focused on this applied research, on solving specific needs on the market. So, and they have, I mean, different interests because they have their shareholder, I mean, they have to satisfy the interest of their shareholder, and they have different also timeline because they need to speed up really, I mean, to bring this solution to the market. So if we can somehow merge and align these different priorities and then find a way to foster a sort of more responsible innovation and also to speed up a little bit the pace of innovation because AI can allow this. So I think that this would be really, I mean, a great opportunity. Then other things that can be done, I think that what needs to be done between public and private, especially when it comes to AI, is to sort of share the resources and infrastructure. Because when it comes to AI, you need significant computing power. You need, like you mentioned, like Pushmet mentioned, the large data set, and then you need specialized AI hardware, and you need talents as well. And these things, these resources, they are scarce and they are costly. So you need financial resources, but you also need to be able to share these resources. So I think about science in the future, you really need to be able to share these resources and infrastructure. And the public-private partnership or cooperation can really allow you to share these resources and to be more ambitious in the project or in the challenges that you're tackling.
So this is all very optimistic, but there must be challenges ahead. If we look forward to the next 10 years, that's our remit for this discussion. Over the next 10 years, I'd like to ask both of you what you see as the major challenges. So Pushmeet, I'll come to you first. So thinking about the major technological and logistical challenges for AI over the next 10 years, you've mentioned computing. Do you think that that's the primary challenge, or is access to data, curation of data, skills development, power consumption? How would you rank these different challenges?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. So data is an extremely important sort of element, right? Intelligence does not just appear in a vacuum, right? If we think about our own individual experiences, right, what shapes our knowledge is the experiences that we have. So, and it's the same for machine learning and AI models. They are as good as they have the experience that they've had in terms of the data that they see, and then whether that data is carefully curated by a scientist or a group of scientists, or that data comes from a simulator, right? So both these data sources have a key role to play, and data quality is an extremely important element towards building uh, machine learning and AI systems which truly generalize, right? Which actually are able to make predictions about the future. The second sort of point is that, of course, as these tools become more advanced, there needs to be investment in general upskilling of how scientists use these tools, right? If you have these amazing tools but people are not able to access them, then that's not great, right? So the fact that you make these tools available to scientists who can then leverage them to pursue the task and pursue the problems that they are currently working on, whether it's developing a new material to tackle climate change, or a new drug to treat a disease. You have to sort of invest in making these sort of tools accessible to people, and also understandable by scientists. So reskilling and understanding the sort of the knowledge of these technologies is really, really important.
Yeah, so you've touched on a very important point there at the end from my perspective. So when we talk about providing tools to scientists, many scientists are very reticent to use tools that they don't understand deeply, because how can they defend their own research if they're using a tool that's been provided by a private company, for example? And the understandability and the explainability of how the AI model actually produces its results is a challenging question, especially as we build larger and larger models. And I mean, so these kinds of questions not only impact how we potentially use AI in science, but also how we develop the policy around scientific research, and where the responsibility for the research lies. So I think that there are also going to be a number of policy challenges over the next 10 years that reflect on that. But also, if we are sharing resources between private and public entities, there are likely to be conflicts of interest. So Manuela, you talked very eloquently about the benefits of public-private partnerships. But do you see any challenges in terms of conflicts of interest over the next 10 years? And with respect to that, do you see the balance of public-private scientific research changing because of AI over the next decade?
That's a very difficult question. Thank you. Okay, so I think that we have some challenges, of course. I mean, Pushmeet already mentioned the availability of data, of quality data, which I think is a big challenge. And then I think, especially if I think about Europe, we're really facing lots of challenges, also geopolitical challenges. So I can tell you a couple of examples of what we are doing in ADRA, just to give you an idea of which one are the main challenges that we are facing, and what maybe we should do to make sure that the AI will allow us to enhance the frontier of knowledge in science in the next years. So in ADRA, for instance, we started, so ADRA was founded 3 years ago. In the beginning, we were pursuing a very high-level mission, like the European autonomy over AI, data and robotic technology, and developing technology that were also, sustainable from the environmental and social point of view, and so on. Then, and it was working, but we were struggling, I would say. Then we started thinking that ADRA, so is bringing, for the one who don't know, ADRA is bringing together different communities, AI, data and robotics, and is bringing together different stakeholders, so private and public stakeholders, so government, research institute, and industry. So merging these different stakeholders, the different community, was very difficult, thinking about very high-level mission. So we started working on specific problem, specific activities. And then it started working. So we started working, for instance, we started a startup on generative AI for robotics. And this is, we just started a couple of months ago, but it's really working because we bring together industry and they have their specific needs and they know what they need, I mean, for the industry of the future, for the manufacturing of the future. And in Europe, we are leading after Asian market. We are the second in the world for robotics. So they said we need to bring AI into our robotics. So we need to bring generative AI or frontier AI into our robotics. And while bringing them together, we understood how we could really, I mean, develop further the science and the application. And I think that really you need to do it in specific application, specific research area, specific topics, because you really need to address a specific needs of the market. And this is something that is very important. There are challenges because if I think about, for instance, the financial resources in Europe, I mean, we don't have that, massive capital that are put into the market by big American companies or Chinese big tech companies in China. So we are really struggling in that because for AI, especially for computing power, you need to have access to these computing resources, and they're very, very costly. So just to give you an idea, I mean, think about how much has been invested in OpenAI, and I mean, like 10 billion, and how much we are investing in the European Generative AI Initiative. 500,000, more or less. So it's, I mean, it's really different, I mean, a different amount of money. So we are really talking, I mean, it's like if we were playing in a different league, but we are still competing in this. So I think that we are struggling, but we can make it because we are really finding a different approach or working together, bringing together the best of the public approach and the best of our industry.
So what I'm hearing here is that ADRA knows how to do it.
Yes, we are learning, but we are learning fast because AI is very fast.
So just we're running short of time now. So just to finish off the session, I'd like to ask both of our panelists to throw their minds forward 10 years. In 10 years' time, how do you see scientific research compared to now? What are the major differences? Has the scientific method changed? Because we've certainly heard that data is becoming increasingly important, and obviously the incentives for creating curated data sets are not necessarily there in our current publishing model. We've also heard that we need to have public-private partnerships in order to accelerate the development of AI. But then we also need to be able to align the objectives of the public and private partners there. So how does it look in 10 years' time? Manuela.
If I think about what Pushmate said about the AlphaFold approach, so that was possible because of interdisciplinarity or multidisciplinarity approach that they had. So if I think about research in the future, it will probably be more multidisciplinary, so bringing together a different discipline together. And then I think that, and this is one of the challenges that I forgot to mention, we need to invest in education of AI, I mean, for everybody, for every scientist, because I think that in 10 years, but already now, research in science, I mean, is done, will be done more and more with AI. And now with AI, and in 10 years, maybe with another technology, we don't know yet. So I think that we really need to make sure that all the scientists know how to use this tool, and they can use them in a responsible way. This is really fundamental, I think.
Yeah. Pushmeet.
Yeah, so I think both the private sector and the public sector have a big role to play here, and success would sort of look like where both these entities are working together. In all the sort of projects that at least sort of I've been part of, I think we have had these partnerships which were crucial to the success of the project. Whether it was working with EPFL on their tokamak fusion reactor, like as a private company, like we wouldn't be able to sort of work on a fusion reactor, right? So that partnership was crucial. In the same way, when we were working on AlphaFold and we wanted to make this tool available to scientists all across the world, a partner like the European Microbiology Lab, right, like was crucial. And so if you look at public sector bodies which are collecting data, about us all, right? Whether it's Genomics England thinking about genomic data, whether it's meteorological organizations collecting data about the weather and the climate of the planet. Like there is a very, very important role that public sector will play, and it's crucial that it has the tools and resources to play that very important role. And I also think that yes, AI has moved really fast, but if you look at the scientific projects that the public sector has taken on, like look at CERN, or ITER. These are massive projects, right? Much even the amount of investment that have gone into these projects. There is no reason why projects of a similar scale cannot be focused on AI. So I am very optimistic about the role of the public sector, and the need for more and closer public-private partnerships in pursuing AI for the future.
Thank you. I think that's a wonderful note for us to close on, a very optimistic note. So for me, the main theme that's come out of this session is collaboration, and I'd like to thank our panelists and Amadix once again for contributing their video, and thank you to our audience.
Fantastic. A round of applause. Congratulations. And I'm sure that all of this very non-artificial intelligence is being downloaded somewhere for the future. We hope to be seeing that again. Thanks again. We have a very special VIP this evening to close off the event. And thank you very much for your energy, for staying with us at this late hour as well. It's been a really rich day so far. But to conclude the event, we have the Executive Vice President of the European Commission, Margrethe Vestager.
Good evening, and thank you very much. Obviously, I realize I am between you and drinks or you and dinner, and any human intelligence needs that. Everybody knows it. No heroes without food. So let me make it short. First and foremost, thank you for that, I think, very interesting panel that we just heard. This is exactly what paves the way for the use of AI in research, because that thoughtful, thorough, nuanced approach is what makes, I think, every scientist comfortable that this is a safe way to go. I have been now responsible for research for almost 5 years, and one of my objectives coming into research was indeed for an uptake of AI in research, because we can accelerate what we do, we can gain deeper understandings if well done. And here we are. Numbers on scientific publications shows that we're getting there. The numbers of, over the last 5 years, of articles reporting science carried out with the help of AI has more than doubled. And the increase is growing. So I think this is a good result. And it's not a good result just because that you can use machine. It's a good result because I am deeply convinced that the application of AI in research will allow us to get more socially beneficial, more valuable results. It will enable us to be faster, to find solutions to all the challenges that we are faced with. And if you just take a small tour around Europe, I hope that you will agree with me. East of here in Leuven, you know that you would find IMEC, the leading worldwide researcher when it comes to cutting-edge semiconductors that will power basically everything around us. Further east in Austria, researchers from the Digital History are using AI to compile, digitalize, disseminate new material on the Holocaust. And it's not just new images. They're giving people an opportunity to learn about the past, to discover new aspects of something that they thought that they knew so well. obviously the Holocaust should never be forgotten. This is something that we need to keep researching, to keep trying to understand, to keep disseminating so that people can study what actually happened. North from here, in Poznan, Poland, another team of researchers are using AI in order to help children with severe disabilities to communicate. AI helps to spot the smallest gestures and patterns that no human eye by itself can see. Inscension is the name of the project, and what they do is that they enable children to be in the world that they were born into. Now, maybe a big leap south in Europe, in Athens, Greece, researchers from a project called Hyperion, they use AI to protect historical monuments, historical sites, cultural sites, against the deterioration that comes from climate change, the ravage of time. Also south, you just saw it, Amadix uses powerful AI to help researchers cure and discover some of the most deadly cancers. All these projects, and of course I could go on and on and on because there are many more. In one way or another, they will revolutionize something. They will prolong history. They will extend human lives. All of them, at some point, were supported by all of us with our common funding of the European Union. So we're really in this together. And it tells at least me something. It tells me that there is a vast potential to accelerate science through AI. And I think it's true for every scientific field, from medicine to anthropology to linguistics. Once one starts thinking about it, I think one will realize that since science is about data, it's about understanding patterns, it's about pushing the limits, it's about understanding something that we didn't know before and find ways to act upon it. There is a role for AI for the magnificent research community in Europe. I think there are many ways where we can help one another. Two in particular that I would like to flag for you tonight. First, that we create the right circumstance for researchers to safely and confidently use AI. And second, that when that research translates into a startup, that we enable the access to markets, including by enabling the uptake of artificial intelligence. Let me start with my second point first, because Europe is an amazing cradle of ideas. So many great things are invented here in Europe. The thing is that what was born here should also have a chance of growing up here in Europe. And for this, it is important to enable a much better access to capital, venture capital, accelerate the road to market. This is true for all startups, including, of course, those who use AI. Because in many cases, they work on cutting-edge research that are way too risky for a single private investor to support alone. You will know the European Innovation Council Accelerator. This is our true European venture fund. It can fund up to 2.5 million euros in grant for innovation activities and up to 15 million for direct investment for market deployment. So we must facilitate the use of AI in science and innovation. There is, I think, give or take, 1 billion per year in AI under Horizon Europe and Digital Europe programs. And the point is, of course, that those funding should help us also to get funding from member states and to get funding from private sector. Because 1 billion alone will not make it. The point is to reach more than an investment of more than 20 billion euros annually in AI over this course of the digital decade. Why, would one say? Well, because we know that it matters. The estimate is that every time €1 from Horizon Europe is being spent, it will generate €5 of benefit to European citizens by pulling private funds along. As it was also said in the panel, you'll get nowhere with artificial intelligence without compute power. It will not happen. And this is why, of course, once the idea was launched, we are working as we speak to enable the access to the European network of hyperscale computers for startups, for mid-caps, for those who need that kind of compute power. And we know that it works. This last year, it was Kando Oy, which is a Finnish startup company that do online identity proofing. They got access to Lumi, the hyperscale computer placed in Finland, and that accelerated their way to the market, and that will enable them to go international in a very, very short time frame. And last but not least, in order for this transition from research to business to market to happen, of course, we need to simplify, to enable faster approvals so that it will happen. And to my first point, because who would use AI if it's not safe to use? I think it is the first question one needs to ask oneself. Just the other day, I was sitting with ChatGPT. I wanted to make a poster for a dinner invitation. So I asked for a cozy Nordic setting for 6 guests. So I got 8 chairs. I said, listen, ChatGPT, this is 8 chairs. I asked for 6. Then I got 6 supports, the back side of the chair, but only 4 seats. This is very simple. This is very easy to check if you get what you ask for. Of course, the pictures were beautiful. Only the spelling was completely off. And when you get beautiful pictures, maybe you can be sort of distracted from the fact that the number of chairs is not as it was supposed to be. Actually, also not the legs of the chairs was not as it was supposed to be. And this is completely trivial. But when you do research in something that is cutting edge and should produce the next drug for a rare disease, well, you need to know what you're doing. And this is, of course, why we need to help one another. So we are today publishing guidelines on the responsible use of generative AI in research. One would say maybe they are trivial. Maybe these are things that you have thought about already. But nonetheless, it's important that it's something that everybody thinks about and are transparent about and discusses with one another. What is it that we do here? Can we trust the data sets? Those we do for learning and those we do for testing. And are the data sets made in a way that actually is applicable for what we are going to do? So when we discuss this, well, then we can also deal with issues like privacy, like confidentiality of the data that we're using. The point is not to scare you away. I hope you sensed my enthusiasm for the use of AI in research. But it is to say, here are things that we should discuss, bear in mind, work on, so that we get to trust the technology with the necessary skepticism that every researcher's approach to the world. Because that skepticism is also curiosity, and that is what we need in order to do this safely. Dear all, my time is almost spent. I'm finishing the first day of this 40-year celebration. I cannot finalize without congratulating each and everyone, because what amazing 40 years. We have really, really, really come a long way. And don't just push it away as just another celebration. Pause. Enjoy. A celebration of Europe's excellence in research. The solutions that has been found. The proof that has been established so that we can decode and navigate in the world that we live in. Be that climate change, protecting biodiversity, keep improving health for people. These 40 years has made Europe a research leader that inspires in many, many other regions. And more than anything else, life has become better for 450 million people. And research is the starting point for everything that becomes better. I am so immensely humbled to be part of this day. And I'm so proud of everything that you do, driven by curiosity, with the willingness to find solutions that will serve humanity. This is just the beginning, both of these days, but also of the next 40 years of amazing European research. Thank you very much, and have a great day tomorrow.
Well, I think I can speak for everyone in that we did feel your enthusiasm, your optimism, and the great energy has been reflected from the crowd here onto the stage as well. Thank you so much, Margareta.
Thank you. It was a
really
pleasure.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Just a word of housekeeping. Thank you so much. This ends the first block of the R&I days, which is all about the competitive edge. Tomorrow we start about greener lives through innovation. Punctually at 9 a.m., please secure your seats. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you and good night.